Hi everyone and welcome to the Haunted Connections show. So we're here at the Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre in Hinckley, Leicester, and tonight we have got our lovely Paul Carpenter.
No,
Goddard. Sorry.
Paul Carpenter. I'm quite okay with the Paul Carpenter. That kind of sounds like some sort of pop singer or St. Paul Carpenter. So no, I like it. It's good. I like it. Yeah.
Oh, the heat.
Oh, I do apologise.
No, it's fine. I'm trying to share this out at the moment so that I can share it out on my Facebook as well. It's not coming up at the moment. It is in the ParaMeet one. It's coming up, isn't it? Oh well, I keep looking. It'll come up soon, I'm sure.
So it's not often I get it wrong, but when I do, I do it in the most spectacular fashion.
If you're going to do it wrong properly.
Exactly, that's it. Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
So it is Paul Goddard with us tonight, not Paul Carpenter. I don't know where that came from. It just fell out of my mouth.
I don't know who Paul Carpenter is.
No. Absolutely. What channel is this on? Is it the ParaMeet one? Because I can't see it.
Haunted Antiques. I'm just going to share it to the ParaMeet one, Paul.
Haunted Antiques.
So
I'm not playing games on my phone, honestly.
Yeah, I always say that.
Yeah.
We're not being rude. We're just sharing it, so more people can watch, more people can ask Paul some really good questions.
So Paul is one of our speakers at the up and coming ParaMeet Midlands. So we're very much looking forward to that. So that's at the end of June. So if you haven't got your tickets, have a look for your tickets on the website.
Yeah. Do you realise it's 4 weeks on Saturday?
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? But very exciting. So yeah, it'll soon come round. Yeah, it will. Is it happening again? You know.
Are you organised, Paul? Are you ready for it?
I'm organising it, so I've got my plan of what, because this time I'm going to do a talk, because the other 3 times, that I've done an event at ParaMeet, I've added a little bit of a talk to it, but most of the time it's been me conducting past lives, which takes quite a big chunk out of the talk, because you've got to put people into hypnosis and then ask some questions rather than just who were you back in the room sort of thing. So a bit of information about the past lives isn't actually said during the so I thought it'd be good to do a talk. I did put a vote out on the ParaMeet page to see what people wanted, and the majority of people said they would actually like a talk this time. So I thought I've done 3 times a group past live. Doesn't mean I won't do it again in the future, but I wanted to do like the talk, really explain a little more about past lives. And I have mentioned it before, but the idea of the talk this time is, and I won't give too much away, but I have mentioned a little bit in the previous ParaMeet and my very first one. Dr. Ian Stevenson, and he went around the world investigating children with spontaneous past life claims, and he had paranormal interpretations of what it could be, like cryptonesia, hidden memories to genetic memory, and all through to actually it being reincarnation. But my idea is with this talk to actually go into each one of the possibilities what it could be, because it's usually just that topic said about 3 minutes. So the whole time the talk will be dedicated to those, but putting a paranormal spin on each one of the topics, both for believers and skeptics. So wherever you sit on the fence, there'll be something for you.
That's good. That sounds interesting. This ParaMeet Midlands is going to be slightly different to all the others. We just mentioned it before we came on air. The speakers are in the big room with most of the vendors as well, because a comment I've got every time is the vendors can't see the speakers. So we've addressed it like we always address people's comments, and so it's going to be exciting, I think. Again, we've got some really good guest speakers. We've got our regulars like you, Paul. We call you like the ParaMeet, the family.
Thank you. It's nice to feel welcomed into the ParaMeet family, and it is such a really great event, because it's people that are there are more in the skeptical field to those that are complete true believers anywhere else on the scale. Everybody just feels so welcomed, and it just feels a really good, as you said, family event. Family is the mean is that we're all like-minded people enjoying each other's company, sharing stories, enjoying the speakers, enjoying the store holders, etc. And like there'll be the mediums and myself there. So it's always so enjoyable, and it's something that I look forward to each time when the ParaMeet is announced and it's a date's booked in. It's that's something in the calendar I can look forward to.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Thank you. So you okay for next year then?
Yes, yeah. If you want me back, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please.
Yeah, the way I envisage ParaMeet going forward is we are going to have the core speakers like yourself, like Kate Ray, like Kate Sherrill, Neil Story, and then throw some UK sort of more unknown speakers, because I think they've all got a good story to tell.
Yeah.
And it's nice to get ordinary people. Oh, no, that's wrong. That sounds wrong. It's nice to get everyone's point of view, and not just these so-called celebrities.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether you're a well-known person within the paranormal field, or somebody who's in a small group, or do your own research, or are some sort of smaller historians. We've got some great historians like Penny and Neil Story, but like a smaller historian, I think a good story, a good talk's a good talk, no matter who it's by. So I think that it's nice having a mixture of different people that attend the events and share their knowledge.
Yeah, that's what we like. That's what we like. So again, this year you're doing some past life regression sessions.
I am, yes.
How's that going?
So yeah, they're apart from one. So please message if you're at the event and would like a past life regression, or comment here if you're watching, because they're all booked apart from the Sunday after I finished the talk. All the others are taken, the slots now, because it was very nice, but there's a lot of people that wanted past lives last time, and I wasn't able to do it because I was booked up. I'll do about 3-4 in a day when I was at ParaMeet, and the reason I stuck to around 3 a day was because I wanted to make sure that each person had the best possible experience.
Yeah.
Some people need a little longer to get relaxed into the hypnosis when I give that. Other people need some healing afterwards. And also as well, I wanted to make sure I was energized, because I have done an event before where it was either, I can't remember exactly, but it was about 10 people I did in one day, plus or minus one. And I was absolutely, I basically drove 2 minutes to the nearest pub and sat and had a coffee just to try and wake myself up afterwards, because I was completely shattered from it. So I thought, one, I want to be at my best,
of course.
And secondly, I want to also enjoy the ParaMeet experience as well, and not just be shut away for the entire time. And I think as well, I'm wiser, a little older than when I first started. And I know that each client that you see deserves that time and attention, and for you to be at your best. So that's why I kind of limit the amounts that I do throughout the day. So if anybody is watching or watches this later and would like that final about 3:30 on the Sunday after I finished the talk, then do message me. I know there's a few people upset last time, so yeah, sorry I didn't do it last time, but here's your opportunity now.
Yeah, I think that's quite admirable, actually. You're not just doing it for the money to get as much money in as you can. You want everyone to have the proper past life regression, and I think that's good.
Thank you.
And like you say, you want to enjoy the weekend as well, don't you?
Yes, exactly.
So
and
you don't want to be working all 2 days.
No, absolutely. And I've got some friends turning up this time, so that's going to be wonderful to have them there. So obviously I want to see those friends, the other friends that I've made over ParaMeet, which is basically everybody there. So it'd be nice to have that good time, because it's a very special event. And as we said earlier, a family event. And if I'm just tucked away, then it would be a real shame and a missed opportunity.
Yeah. You got a question for Paul?
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Paul
Do you-
Goddard, not Paul
I'm not
Carpenter,
Paul
though.
Carpenter. I'm not going to live that one down, am I?
No, that'll be recurring. That might be brought up for ParaMeet.
Do you think people have a set number of past lives, or do you think it's like an infinite thing?
Most of the time when I do my regressions, I use the corridor method in inducing, allowing people to go through to a past life. I sometimes use different methods. Usually if I'm doing several sessions and people are watching live, just to mix it up a bit, because the induction can take its time so that people don't start getting bored. There are quicker ways of doing hypnosis, but I always like to be 100% sure that somebody's in a deep trance so that they can get the best experience in having their past life experience. But the corridor method, I say each of the doors represents a past life, and that will take you back in time. So pretty much what I've gathered from the sessions, speaking to people afterwards, that each of those doors represents a past life. So there are different thoughts and theories about past lives, and I tend to just go along and kind of forget what I've learned from or heard from religious groups about the past lives, and just ask the questions as they are. But when they see the doors, that represents, so some people can have just a couple of doors, other people the corridor keeps stretching all the way down. I did have one person which they just had one door right at the very end of the corridor, so it took them a little while to get down to that one. But some religions say there's a certain amount of times that you reincarnate. Other religions say that you keep reincarnating until you've kind of reached like true enlightenment. None of that's personally come out in the regressions that I've done. So it seems to be quite sort of if you're a new soul or an older soul. So I just kind of explore, find my way through it, and it's so important, and it's something that I'm very proud about. But when I do my sessions, I make sure that I don't lead. The only time I do kind of lead is suggest a door or life to go back to, like yourself, Jane, the experience in the Isle of Wight that we did, and that progressions on the channel. So I do get people that say, I think I've had this life then. But you can sort of unintentionally lead people. And I will go a little more into detail because I want to leave surprises for the talk. But I read a lot of books about hypnosis, and I've got a book by Roy Hunter, which is a book on doing regression therapy. And he was saying that they had one hypnotherapist who was really kind of interested in UFO phenomena. And I think I might have said this on your last one, and sort of said during a near-death experience that Roy had, now go through the light and let me know if there's a UFO there. He went through the light and did see a UFO. So when I do my regressions, if it seems like anybody's going to die in a particular situation, because I've had people on battlefields and they're very injured, and it looks like they're going to die, but I never actually will say at that point, did you die here? Because not always that happens. Quite a lot of the time it does happen, but sometimes you find that they do survive it and live several years or many years after that experience. So when it does look like it's somebody's last moments, I usually just ask them to go further forward 1 year. And the majority of people, when they do that, they usually say, I can't see anything, or it's blank, or something like that. Then that gives you the indication that seems that it was that they passed then. So I go, okay, now go to your final moments, and then they go back to that experience, which might be on a battlefield or somewhere else.
Interesting. Okay, we've got some comments. John Paul's shared it on his podcast network, so thank you, Paul. John Paul. Joe Amos says, evening all. Paul, you're an absolute delight to watch work. You're incredibly talented and knowledgeable. Looking forward to booking your services soon.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's really nice to hear.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
And then she says, Paul, do you think our phobias are as a result of a bad past life experience?
During my regressions, that's something that certainly comes out. I've had people that have been beaten, for example, by a cruel husband, and they find themselves that in this lifetime they're very closed in showing their own opinions, and because of the cruel husband, if the lady who was in that life, so the lady who in the regression was beaten by the husband in the past life now, they shut themselves down in that life, and some of that can stay and move forward into this life now. Mm-hmm. Other experiences, a big one is when somebody drowns in a past life, whether it's on a ship or a swimming accident. That can be a reason why somebody's fearful of water. Doesn't mean all phobias are related to past lives, but it certainly can be. I've had people that, one particularly I'm thinking of, that was a miser in a past life, and then at the end of that life, they realised, I've missed all these fabulous years that I could have had with my wife and my children. Mm. And then when they're reborn again, they're just giving money away to people and not saving anything. So they've gone to the extreme. I've had it before where somebody in their past life experiences lost a child, and in this life now lost a child through, so like they weren't paying attention. So if that's a trigger to anybody, but they weren't paying attention, and in this life they're really overprotective to their children. So all sorts of different ways people are. So during hypnosis, that's something that you can address. And with my hypnosis, and the reason why I also like making sure I don't overbook during the day, is that I can offer that healing. And sometimes, I mean, even when I'm doing a live, I will take off a healing from the past lives that I do. If it's a pre-record, then goes on my channel. But if it's actually a live and the person needs the healing, I make sure I do that. Now, it might not be the most interesting experience watching it, because sometimes you're sat quiet for quite about a minute whilst that healing that you've suggested and they've done is doing its good, but you owe it to the person if they need it to do that healing. So it might not be the most spectacular thing to see, but you need to sit with them. And sometimes, you know, I've had people, particularly when they come to see me here, you sometimes sit with them for a good 5 minutes in silence, you know, and you need to do that sometimes. So I hope that answers the question. I've kind of gone off into a completely different tangent there, but I hope that's answered the question that was asked then anyway.
That's fine. Tanya says, what about heights and the dark and fear of dying?
Yeah, quite possibly. If somebody has a phobia and they come to me and they haven't come for a past life, sometimes there's something called the NLP fast phobia technique, and you're viewing the experience when they first had their phobic reaction on a cinema screen, and you do things like make it go in reverse, add some humor with it. So when somebody, so for example, spiders is quite a big phobia. So sometimes I will get them to see the spider, you know, with drunkenly with a hat on, trying to blow up a balloon and singing songs really, really badly. And you start looking to see if somebody starts laughing. Sometimes people will book me for a past life to heal the phobia. But even on those, I will say each of the doors, I slightly change what I say. So instead of saying the past life when this started, I say each of the doors will represent the time when this phobia first started. And I'd like you to be aware of which door that is, and then go through that door, because not all the time is it related to a past life. Sometimes we can have things that happen as children, and it will trigger something off, you know. And sometimes it can be something like there's an initial event. For example, a child could be stuck in some curtains when they were playing hide and seek, and they started panicking because there was a long curtains that go down to the ground. They twist themselves out and think they can't get out. Then they become phobia of enclosed spaces later on, and it might be that they suddenly go into a airplane and think, I can't get out of here. And then something that's happened as a child will suddenly kick in at that moment then. So it can be most certainly related to past lives, and I can help it out with past lives, but I just allow the subconscious mind to go to the initial moment rather than assuming it's definitely in the past life.
Joe says, when I was 3, I told my mother that I died in a car accident. I currently have a fear of driving. I generally think it's linked. Could hypnosis help this?
Yeah, absolutely. It can certainly do it, as long as everybody has to want to let go. And I'm sure that Joe wants to let go of this experience, but always make sure that someone truly wants to let go of what they want to. I mean, there's very few people that say they don't want to let go, but sometimes there can be a positive gain for having certain phobia, like getting them out of doing long distance driving or something. I'm not saying that's you, Joe, but I'm just sort of saying how it can be with other clients. But yeah, most certainly it can help. And as well, Joe was mentioning that the stories coming out at that small age, and that's part of what I'm going to also talk about is the spontaneous past lives that Dr. Ian Stevenson looked into. Jim Tucker was his, I wouldn't say assistant because they worked alongside each other. He now still continues the work after Ian Stevenson passed away. And it's always usually at that time when children beginning to speak that they start saying about a previous life. And if any parents, and every single time I do a live, pretty much I say this, if any parents are getting their children and they're saying these really fascinating stories about potential past life, is to write down what they say or record what they say. I mean, you can record on your mobile phones, either voice or video now, because quite often I've done lots of these talks now, and I will very often get a parent at the end of the evening come to me and said, oh, my son, my daughter, when they were just beginning to talk, started saying all these interesting stories, but after about 6, 7, his memory started to fade and now he doesn't talk about it anymore. And they sort of said, I'm not quite sure what was said then. So I think, if you have an interest in this, I know some parents kind of think, oh, very nice, and just dismiss it.
Yeah.
But I think if you have an interest in that, then do write it down, because it could be really interesting and show potential of what a past life could be. But when now you're older, was it Joe said that? Was it, or who said that one?
Joe, yeah.
Joe. It'd be something that we could explore if you're interested to see what might have happened in that previous life, particularly as you spoke about it.
Interesting. Do you have any phobias, Jane?
Phobias? Not really, but I do have the I still won't sleep with me cupboard doors or drawers open because of experience I had when I was little. Yeah. He used to get coming out of the cupboard and pinching my feet.
Nasty.
So I don't. I used to be really quite scared of spiders, but they don't seem to bother me so much now, unless they're sort of saber-toothed ones.
Okay, Tanya says, do you do online consultations?
Yes, I do. So I usually somebody might phone me up on the either just the normal mobile phone, sometimes a phone call on Facebook Messenger. I'm more than happy to take, or WhatsApp. I'm more than happy to take calls that way as well. So I tend to some hypnotherapists, I mean, we all work in slightly different ways, and there's never one way is the correct way and another way is the incorrect way. But I usually like to start the first session. I usually speak to somebody or they email back and forth to begin with. But if somebody's interested in a past life or just normal hypnotherapy, I will speak to them on the phone, say what's going to happen, or email them. And then the first session is straight either into the hypnosis or the NLP and hypnotherapy. I know some hypnotherapists which will have like a consultation session, which is a certain price, and then another one. But for me, the way I like to work is just getting straight down to it, and as soon as possible, either do the regression if it's for interest, or start the healing work. Because, you know, there's a good saying in NLP, you're not broken, you don't need to be fixed. It's just a stuck state that you're in. And through hypnosis, and hypnosis is self-hypnosis, so I guide people into that hypnosis, and through NLP tools and techniques, you can get through to that desired state.
Yeah. And Tanya says, can pain and disease be brought into this life from past lives?
Well, what I found through my own experiences is that pain can be brought in from a past life if somebody received an injury. So, for example, because I'm always careful not to, unless somebody says I'm happy for you to share this story, I don't sort of I go for the general, because when somebody comes here, what is between us stays with us, unless somebody will say, I'd like this to be on your channel, are you happy to talk about it? Because I've had people before that have been on my channel, and they sort of said, oh, it's okay, can you actually put it out on your channel, you know, which is nice when people have that. But I tend to find it's not anything to do with karma, meaning in the way that somebody was bad in a previous life, but it tends to be that somebody was injured, either falling off a high building, somebody could have been injured again on a battlefield, and it tends to be those experiences that cause people pain and discomfort. And again, healing can be done with it, but I always say it's when it's particularly pain, I never say it's 100% guaranteed. It increases your chances and the likelihood of things getting better. And I tend to find, roughly from my experience, and I've not written it down and noticed it exactly person, but just it sort of feels like with pain management, about a third of the people it gets totally better, a third of the people it improves, a third of the people it doesn't really change things. So that's being open and honest with what tends to sort of happen with the regressions or with pain management. But I always think it's very important, because we mentioned karma. It's never come out that somebody has something because they've been bad in a past life. That's one of the big things, which is out karma with you know, the regression side of things. And also as well, I would never mention it when I don't lead clients to think that it could be that. No client has ever come out saying it's because of karma. And also as well, I think it's very unhelpful if somebody's going through a bad time in this life. You don't want to throw, along with what they're going through at the moment, extra guilt because they've been bad in a previous life. So it seems to be more injury and more emotional kind of things from a past life that comes through to this life now.
You have to be doing past life regression, hypnosis. You have to be very respectful, and you have to do things correctly. It's a bit like being a medium. You know, mediums and people do what you do, Paul. You've got a big responsibility, as far as I can see. You could say the wrong thing and really affect somebody, couldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you do get your hypnotherapy certificate, that's something in the beginning. It's your experiences. I mean, I didn't just get the certificates and then start working straight away. I would begin to start seeing friends for lighter things, and then sort of move as I knew more into newer things to help people out more difficult stuck states that they're in. But it's also, as well, as a hypnotherapist, to know when to suggest somebody like a psychotherapist. And there's, you know, any hypnotherapist will be fine about saying that, because I do help out with mild depression, with doctors to moderate. But if there's like really severe depression, sometimes seeing someone like a psychotherapist is much better, because I wouldn't be able to say what they can or can't do with any medication they're taking. Sometimes, again, if somebody, psychotherapist said, look, this is fine, I think it would help. But, I think you've got to be responsible to actually say, actually, I should now refer you on to someone else. And as I said, with like the pain management, a third of the time, nothing happens. A third of the time, it improves. A third of the time, it goes away. Those times where nothing happens, I will still recommend people that they could see, because I think particularly with pain, people are really quite desperate sometimes, and the last thing that anybody wants to hear is, I'm sorry, I can't do anything, off you go. I will find alternative ways for people, and I've got some people that I know that could potentially help out in different things, whether it's an osteoporosis, whether it's herbalism and that, or whether it's to see someone who's a counsellor. Sometimes you have to refer those people on. So I think it's being responsible with what you do, and also as well, it comes out so often with the past lives. People sometimes get upset during the experience. Nobody has had an experience with me and thought, I've hated that, and I never wish I did it, because the healing process afterwards has certainly released something. But one of the people that is on my YouTube channel, and I also went on her channel, Charlene, she's a good friend of a lot of people in the paranormal field. She went back to Viking times, and during this time when she was her name was Freya, she was on a Viking boat. The ship was completely destroyed in a storm. Before the whole boat fell apart, her son in that lifetime was swept overboard and killed and like drowned. Now, Charlene is not a very emotional person, and she said that after her experience, and people that know her know she's not like somebody who's really an emotional person. But in that regression for the son that was swept overboard, the emotions really started, and you can have something called an abreaction, which is experiencing the emotions of trauma that have happened, or sometimes through suggestion, although I wouldn't suggest that to happen, but that's how an abreaction can happen. So you have to then sort of deal with that. So I took her to a safer time and then allowed her to go forward and experience only what emotions she felt comfortable. And then I did a lot of healing work with it. Very, very occasionally, I will take somebody out of hypnosis for a brief amount of time because they need to have that extra healing work. But the thing is to stay calm yourself. That's the most important, because if you look all shaken up by it, you're not going to present that confidence that you're going to heal this for somebody. So that's it, to stay calm and confident yourself, and to show and reassure that, we're now going to do some healing work, and then put people back into hypnosis, and take as long as you need to do that healing work afterwards. Person sometimes, and again, it's judging the sort of person they are, just putting your hand on their shoulder and looking them in the eyes and go, we're going to sort this out now, to just give that reassurance that it is going to be okay. And I've done this since 2010, and I've never had anybody say to me that was awful. Everybody's left feeling very happy and delighted to have the experience.
That's good. Okay, a few more comments. Joe says, I will be in touch.
Thank you, Joe.
Vicky says, Emily has messaged me, sends apologies as she's at the family event. Gutted she had missing Paul's chat.
Oh, bless. Well,
you'll see Emily at ParaMeet Midlands.
Yeah, and also as well, this will be available on Facebook. And I also noticed somebody popped up from YouTube. I didn't realise there was a YouTube link as well. I could have shared that to a few other people.
We don't normally do YouTube, do we? But okay. Tanya says, how do we contact Paul for a booking?
Oh, thank you. So you can either contact me through Facebook. I'm happy to message people on Facebook Messenger, either my personal one, or you can go to Paul Goddard Past Life Regressions. You can go to my website, which is paulgoddardnlp.co.uk, or email me, paul@paulgoddardnlp.co.uk. on my website, there's links to my contact details, but it's 07763 259 736. And you might want to rewatch that back to get all the numbers, but you can send me a text or phone call. And I'm more than happy to chat to people. I will give people like a good sort of 15 minutes to chat to over the phone, a little longer if necessary. But I have had one or two people that have wanted to have like a session, and you sort of say, well, I've got to go now, because it could go on for about an hour. And you do get people that do that sometimes, that kind of want to try and get ideas and things they can do without booking you.
Okay, Tanya then says, how many sessions do you usually need?
Each person's different. Sometimes something can get better after one session. Usually what happens there, because there's various different things going on with your subconscious mind. So there's these gateways through to the subconscious mind. So there's the hypnosis that people will have with me, but also as well, bad habits can happen through hypnosis. Like sometimes people really smoke that want to quit smoking considerably because they're in a state of hypnosis. When you're watching TV, you have emotions that are impact and go through to the subconscious. Authority figures, some people either are drawn to an authority figure because you might have seen Darren Brown's program, and they repeated an experiment which has been done previously in the past, but somebody was being asked questions, and each time the person asked a question, I think it was either general knowledge or mathematical problems, but every time the person got the question wrong, somebody gave them little electric shocks, and the shock would go higher and higher. Now, it was just a recording of somebody going, ow, to begin with, and then sort of screaming louder. And people would just go higher and higher with the electricity, way past the danger zone, to when they're pressing the electric shock button and the volunteers no longer making any noises back. It's all set up and all recorded. But people know there's a voltage you don't go to when you're giving somebody electric shock, because it would kill them. But because somebody is in a white coat and has an authority and say, they're studying this, they're a psychologist, they will keep going and take the electric. So authority has a big part to play, but sometimes people will rebel against authority. There's other things as well, like repetition is really important to go through to the subconscious mind. So when I do hypnosis, they listen to the hypnosis over and over again. So that's just a few of the things. There's many, many more. But with some people, there's enough in alignment that just one session with hypnosis is enough to tilt the balance to make a big difference. Most of the time, people are about 3 sessions for hypnosis, sometimes a little longer. But after the sort of second session I have with somebody, if somebody's really not feeling like anything's changed whatsoever, then I will speak to them about maybe an alternative, because it's very effective. But being honest, there are 1 or 2 people which it doesn't seem to work with. I think some people work better with different sort of styles of therapy. So I won't keep somebody coming back time and time again if no changes happened. But also as well, I like people just to do a few simple tools and techniques to add into their daily lifetime. There's NLP techniques that you can add in that really help the hypnosis. It's a little bit like cleaning your teeth. If you don't clean your teeth and you're eating sweets, you're probably going to get tooth decay at the end of it. So, by helping yourself prevent yourself from getting tooth decay, you clean your teeth a little bit every day. So I give people suggestions that they can keep these NLP tools and techniques just going throughout their life. And usually after about 90 odd days of doing something small, it's very small. It's not a huge amount of time that people have to spend doing these tools and techniques. I don't do the long ones either. So if you just do a little bit and just nudge yourself, then it makes a big difference. So a couple of sessions usually is what's needed. But, I never do the hard sell. Somebody wants to just come for one and then, say, give them an email in, a few weeks' time, and I'll just see how they're doing. And it will be, I'll ask, how are you doing? I won't say, do you want to book another session? Because it's up to the individual if they go for that session or not. And again, I've given an incredibly long answer to a very short, simple question.
That's fine. You want to jump in, Jane?
Yes, I'd like to talk about children. So I've been reading a few books recently about child reincarnation, and it seems that the child, they right from birth, right from the start, they're trying to sort of say about their past life, and as soon as they can talk, that's when the story sort of happens. But usually they take the memories up until they're about 7 years old, and then it sort of disappears.
Mm.
Have you actually done any past life with children?
I haven't. I've had people that have had experiences when they've been younger, and they've thought about it, and then something will happen in this lifetime. They go somewhere, they meet someone, and all of a sudden it will trigger back some of these memories that they've had previously. I haven't done anything with children. I know I have heard they make very good hypnotic subjects, children. But yeah, it'd be something, obviously, if somebody's under the age of 18, I always just suggest they have, because I do sessions with children as well. I always make sure that they've got a parent or a guardian or grandparent or somebody with them that they can sort of sit with during the session. I've got 3 seats here that people can sit on. It would be really, really interesting. There used to be a program on TV called The Ghost Inside My Child. I really like that. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It's been on both Really and Blaze and various other channels, but where they interview these children with the spontaneous past lives, and some of them have been really absolutely incredible and fascinating. And I thought I'd love to, maybe somebody that's been on one of those programs to take them back, to that life they'll live and see if more information can come out through hypnosis more than what they remembered as children. But then again, if a child is happy, if a parent is happy for me to see what comes out, then I'm happy to go ahead and have that session. I'll probably be a little bit more careful if it's somebody very young, particularly if it's something potentially traumatic. Maybe not allow a session for them to go so much in that, and more healing maybe during it. But yeah, I'd certainly be happy to have a session like that.
Because they say that the information that you get is always very consistent. They never ever change the story.
Yes.
Being children, you'd think that the imagination would kick in, or that they would sort of perhaps just make things up. But even over quite a long period of time, the story never changes, and it's very consistent. And children have sort of taken their parents back to houses where they used to live in another life, and they, some of them have even been like their own grandparents. And it's a fascinating sort of field to learn about.
It is absolutely fascinating, and I know that I have seen, and I do actually. If you haven't seen one of Dr. Richard Wiseman's talks, they are brilliant to go to. But he's more skeptical. He actually comes across much better and more funny in his live presentations than he ever does when he's been interviewed on a paranormal channel. So I highly recommend his talks. But I remember he did an experiment once where he would see if a child's made-up experience matched potential past life. And he did find that, some of them, or a good majority of them, could match up to somebody who had passed away. But the one difference that I noticed when Richard Wiseman was doing these tests and experiments, they were sort of saying, just make up and pretend. But you could tell the children were making up and pretending. They were smiling. There was more of a lilt in their voice. You could tell that they were thinking, isn't this fun coming up with this story? Whereas when you see the children that have the spontaneous past lives, sometimes they get quite upset. It's almost like when they're talking, you see an older soul, like the person that they might have been coming out at that time. They're not smiling. It's not a joke. It's not like their imaginary friend. So for me, it's quite compelling, just the way a child will interact talking about these stories.
That's interesting. That would be an interesting project, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, please. So again, anybody watching wants to set that up, please let me know.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Patricia says Paul's sessions are amazing. I thoroughly recommend them.
Oh, thank you, Patricia.
Vicky says, when is Paul doing his talk at ParaMeet? I always miss it. Definitely want to go this time.
So it's 2:00 on the Sunday. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so it's 2:00 on the Sunday. If I've got that wrong, I will message you to say I'm very sorry I've got it wrong. But I'm pretty sure it's 2:00 on the Sunday. Yeah. And again, this time it's going to be more. Well, it's going to just be a talk about the past lives with a bit of a paranormal spin on things for both believers and skeptics, as I said earlier, because I put a vote out on the ParaMeet page, and people wanted to have a talk this time. And I think it's good to mix and match rather than come back and do the same thing. Although it's really interesting doing a group regression, it's also nice to see everybody so relaxed in their chairs as well.
Yeah. Okay. Tracy says, wish Paul came to Cornwall.
Well, certainly. I'm always up for traveling places. So if there's, because in Cheltenham there's something called the Isbourne. It used to be Holistic Centre. They changed it to Wellbeing Centre. But I have done a couple of talks and events there, and they run it at a 50-50 split. So if there's anything down in Cornwall that is similar to that, like a Wellbeing Centre, where they have people that do workshops, talks in the evenings, please let me know, and I'll see about contacting them, because it might be something really good to do at that, or again, any sort of other paranormal events.
Yeah, good. Tanya says, can everyone be hypnotized, or can some people resist?
Every single person can be hypnotized, and every single person will go into a hypnotic state anyway. It's a natural state that we go to when our brainwaves start to slow down. First of all, as they slow down, they drop from normal waking consciousness beta into alpha, and then theta and delta. And when you go to sleep, you're drifting down into those different layers. But people that drive, you hear about people going on automatic pilot. At that moment, people have gone into a hypnotic state and just going on their default setting. So say they're meant to go to meet a friend, and before they know it, they're driving to work, and they think, no, don't go to work on Saturdays. So in that state, people are in a hypnotic state. Most of the people driving, because it's unconscious competence by the end. So a lot of people driving are actually in a hypnotic state, which is kind of slightly worrying, maybe, in a way. But yeah, people will be driving in automatic state. Another thing that people do as well is when they're watching TV, people will go through to hypnosis. So everybody can go to hypnosis. It's just a case of that some people won't allow themselves to go into hypnosis by a hypnotherapist or a hypnotist, but every single person can achieve the hypnotic state, just as long as they're willing to let themselves go. In fact, there was a saying that some people couldn't be hypnotized, because at one point the fashion became that you used a lot of eye fixation hypnosis. Now, I will, again, very, very occasionally do this. It's not my go-to induction, because I have very sensitive eyes. So having to look at a spot on a wall, or sometimes a spinning disc, it doesn't work very well on me, and it doesn't work very well for a certain amount of people. So from that time, way in the past, the thought came out that some people are resistant to hypnosis, but it was just that the induction wasn't right for them. I mean, again, I tend to do like a progressive relaxation hypnotic induction, where you're getting people to count down, sometimes walking down steps. Other times I'm just, by suggestion, saying people get more sleepy. Other people are more analytical people. During those sorts of people that I hypnotize, I use more of a mental confusion induction, so that they'll go into hypnosis. So again, it's just being aware of what sort of client you have in front of you and adapting your induction techniques, so everybody can go to hypnosis.
Good. Okay. Tanya says, will you come to Norfolk?
Yeah, what, the ParaMeet? Oh no, it's not in Norfolk, is it? Yeah, that's Pontefract. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. So again, if there's something going on down there, either a paranormal festival or like a wellness or holistic centre or a venue which would be interested in me coming down, yeah, I will certainly do. Obviously, I've got to make it that I kind of can pay my way to get there and everything. But yeah, if people say, "Oh, this is a good either venue to contact," or people know of like certain events happening, yeah, please reach out and let me know, because I absolutely love traveling. So if I can have the excuse to travel to different places, I will love it. And I also love the paranormal. I love past lives. I love hypnosis. So it's win-win all way around.
Yeah. Tanya, if you're not on the ParaMeet page, join it, because we do ParaMeets, which Paul is a regular. Who knows where we'll be next year?
Yeah, I look forward to it, and it's so nice the way it's grown as well. Like more events happening, you get different people that can make it because they're in different areas of the UK. And I love the idea that you're doing this time around. So you've got the awards and you've also got some music. So that's going to be fun and very social. And, you know, even if people are a little shy, everybody's so welcoming. And, you know, I highly recommend that you turn up to one of these events. People are going to enjoy it. You're going to make a lot of friends there if you're thinking about going. So, yeah, do make it to ParaMeet, because it's worth it. And also as well, what's brilliant, unlike certain other festivals, it's very good value for money. You know, you get a lot for your money, and the tickets are very, very reasonable.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was always important to us. You know, some, like Paul says, some festivals charge perhaps £100 to get in. Some charge more than £100. I couldn't afford that, so I wouldn't expect people to pay us that sort of money. We've got the quality in speakers. They are all UK speakers, which is important to us. And we will always give you value for money. And that's what we stand for. We are doing 3 this year. We started off one a year, but during last year's, I arrived on the Sunday morning and got all the team together. I says, how about doing 3 next year? And they all said, yeah. They're all great. They're all crazy as I am.
I think the word got round, didn't it, about the ParaMeet, and so many people wanted to come that couldn't get there. So a lot of people were saying, why don't you come up north and do one up north? Why don't you come down south and do one in the south? And it's just proved to be really, really popular. You know, it's something that people really enjoy.
Absolutely. So will there be a Wales and Scotland added too?
What's this space?
Yeah.
You just never know.
you never know with me, Paul.
No. But it's brilliant. I mean, sorry. Yeah, if you can get down, I was going to say, if you can get down, it's amazing. And, you know, you can actually stay. Each of the venues are haunted venues, which is lots of fun to actually stay in the haunted hotel as well.
Yeah. Tanya says, is it just past lives you do?
No, it's not. So I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, so I'll get people for quitting smoking, weight loss, self-esteem, motivational issues, fears. That's the NLP, and I use classic hypnosis with that. But also as well with past lives, I have done parts therapy, and that then can go into attachments as well. So I've done some of that. It's not what I often do. I don't advertise it, but I do get inquiries about it, and I do help people with it. But also as well, I'm always really interested in allowing people to tap into the like either place memory. I did that on Help My House is Haunted. And also as well, I want to sort of just see if people can later on increase their psychic abilities. So there's all sorts of different things in the paranormal field that I add as well. And I'm always really interested to go forward and explore.
Interesting. Okay, then. Tanya's got lots of questions for you, Paul.
Good.
Say someone has hundreds of lives. Will you take us to each life?
I could do a snapshot of each life. I find most people want to get their teeth into a good past life. I have had a few people that have booked several sessions just because they want to explore the different doors. Sometimes people want to have more information about a specific past life, which I'm happy to do. So it will be like the general life to their earliest memory to their death is what I will take somebody through. Most sessions will be the one life throughout, and then a little bit of what they experience after they've passed over. But sometimes some of my lives that I do, the life ends about 10 years old, or sometimes even younger. So you haven't really got a lot of experience you can go to. So I'll then allow them to move to either the next life or one that feels right for them to experience then. But then sometimes with people want to come back, they can explore more. So say that they had a long interest in life, but they had a particularly interesting experience maybe when they're in the factory working as a child and want to know more information about that. After the first session, I do get people that rebook just to experience that one particular life. And I find as well that time I don't need to then to take them through to the death experience. I do take somebody through to their final moments, again making sure that they're comfortable throughout, because I think it's important. It gives closure for that life that they're experiencing. But when they're re-exploring just a certain area, I would just ask the questions relevant to that. And what often happens sometimes is that the more people go into hypnosis, the more information comes out. So names might be a little sketchy to begin with. When they've come back for another session, they will then get clearer surnames and more information comes out. So that's something which does happen with past lives and the regression experience as well.
So you've had a past life regression report, haven't you?
I have.
You had two.
We've done one, haven't we? I have done a session with Kerry.
Oh yeah, you've done one before. How did you find it? No pressure. He's just under the line.
I really enjoyed it because it when it all comes back to you, it just feels so natural and normal because you've sort of just experienced it. You've already experienced it.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating when you do it.
It is fascinating. I know we did a session and we did it up here, didn't we, Paul? Online.
Yes, absolutely.
Jane and I were up here. I invited Jane that night because we are in a haunted building, and I to be honest, I didn't know what was going to happen. So I thought, well, I'll get some protection.
Don't blame you.
It was really interesting. And
excellent.
I think the most fascinating one was when you did past life on Kate.
Yes.
When with that voice.
Yes, absolutely. If you go to my channel, I've got that on there, the voice and just that particular moment. And what is so great about it, it was live at the time.
Yeah.
It shows that it was happening in real time. It does sound like it could potentially be Tell Her. I mean, not 100% sure what it says. It does sound like Tell Her. But after I went and did that, I sat in the same position that I was sat in, mic'd myself up exactly the same way, and was shifting about in my chair. I'm pretty sure it wasn't any external noise, and I could only do it from my side. But no matter what I did, it just sounded like a chair shifting and sometimes clicking. It didn't sound anything like the voice, but that sounded from one of the sides. Probably it was actually Kate's house because her house has got activity in it.
Yeah.
But it does sound almost like the voice is right close to the microphone on one of our sides. As I said, probably Kate's, but just saying words directly into the microphone. So it was. I remember when I had it. First of all, Lauren was watching live, and she said, "I think I heard the voice." Now I was thinking, "Oh, I might have just shifted something," and I've heard a lot of EVPs beforehand, which may or may not be a spirit voice, but that was like, that really is something. And I remember just watching it over and over again until
that was fascinating.
It was a nice life as well.
Yeah.
It was when she was getting towards the end of her life, which was only in her 40s, but the time that she was around, she said she felt much older, and it was a really nice message, like her cheeks are rosy with the burn of life or something like that. But it was a nice message as well when that voice comes through. So if anybody wants to hear that, particularly, you can go to my YouTube channel, Past Life Regressions with Paul Goddard, and I've highlighted just that little bit. So if you put ghost voice interrupts regression or something like that, I can't remember what I actually called it now, but you'll come across it anyway. If you look for the ghost voice and just scroll down, you'll come across it.
Yeah, fascinating. So it's gone 9 o'clock. That's gone really, really quick again.
It has.
It's amazing. So what Jane and I are trying to do for the next 4 weeks, on a Tuesday and some Thursdays, we're trying to talk to all our guest speakers from ParaMeet Midlands. We've got 2 to bring back in, because one he got full of cold, and another one with Barry that I actually shoot off because my mum. So we will try and talk to all the guest speakers, so you know who they are. You'll get to know them. If you come to ParaMeet Midlands, you'll get to know them anyway. And ParaMeet is special. I know it's easy for me to say, but it is special. And even if you're coming on your own, honestly, I'm not exaggerating here, you won't be on your own for long, because everyone is so friendly, and you can just go up and talk to anyone and they will talk to you. No one will think you're some sort of loony, because we're all a bit weird. So and us, we get to see old friends, don't we?
Absolutely. And also as well, if anybody's fearful, if they're going by themselves, there's a lot of people that turn up and go to these events by themselves and stay in there. But as you say, there's nobody who's just going to, it's certainly an event where if you see somebody by themselves, unless somebody really doesn't want to speak to them, but somebody will approach you and start talking. It's just really nice and friendly. So as I say, if you love the paranormal, and particularly as well if your social sphere doesn't like the paranormal, because I know that some people in their social sphere, they don't know, I don't want to talk about that, you will find a lot of friends by the end of it that are very much like-minded to you. And it really doesn't matter if you're skeptic, on the fence, or believer. Everybody will be respected for your views and love to talk about the paranormal and share experiences.
Yeah. And like I say, we get to see old mates. You mentioned Kate Ray. We mentioned Kate Ray. It's lovely to see Kate again. It's lovely to see Laurie Ann and Penny, and there's dozens and dozens of old friends that you only get to see at ParaMeet, probably.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's brilliant.
So, okay, so we're going to say thank you everyone for all your comments, especially Tanya. She had more comments. No doubt Tanya will message you privately, Paul.
Please.
Thanks for all your comments. It always makes it more interesting when people comment.
Thank you to Paul Carpenter.
Thanks for Paul Carpenter.
So I'm so sorry about that.
She's the medium.
I know. How many years we've been doing this show?
We've been doing this show about 5 years. So, and of course, thanks to you, Paul, for joining us, and thank you for being a guest speaker at ParaMeet again.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm really looking forward to it. And it's great, these Tuesday chats with the speakers that you do, and I enjoy going on Facebook and listening to these chats as well. So it's great. So I will be continuing to listen as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, brilliant.
So we will see you in 4 weeks' time, Paul.
Yeah. It will be here in no time. It really will
It
be.
will be. I've got so much still to do. But I do put pressure on myself because I keep thinking of different ideas. So if Paul, while you're on there, if you'd like an advert in the printed program, send me a message.
Yes, I will do. I was just going to say as well, so yes, I will do. And also as well, if you need to have my hypnosis for relaxation, let me know and I'll send it through as the build up to the ParaMeet event. If you want to give yourself 25 minutes bit of relaxation time, I'll just send that through to you.
All right.
And Jane as
well. All right. We're going to say goodnight and we will see you all very soon. So
bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. It is still going.
It is still going.
Good night, everyone.
I was thinking about it.